Hey everybody, welcome to the next episode of the Strand Tennis Center podcast, filled with tips, advice, tennis, not tennis, just life advice too, whatever you need. Like it on YouTube, share it on the podcast as well. Thank you.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Strand Tennis Center podcast. I'm Steve Koppel. I'm your host. You know, we did this tip show, George, and I got some good responses for it, and I didn't go through them all. I did 20 tips. I'm going to do 18 tips today because we do all these tips on social media and stuff, and I just wanted to go through them. If anybody, you know, it's always helpful to go through tennis tips. So I'm going to go through 18 tips that I hope will help you in your game, in life, if you want to accomplish great things. Number one, use the open stance on the run. So the open stance is when you go to a ball that's wide, you don't want to step. So if I'm righty, I don't want to step with my left foot. I want to step with my right foot. So I want to open up my stance so I have more reach and room to get there. Because the problem is when you go out wide to a ball and you try to step with your front foot, you end up crossing your feet. You turn your back, you get in big trouble. So open up your stance with every ball on the run. Even on the backhand side, people feel they don't feel comfortable with it. Open the stance up. You can cover a lot more court. Let me see what else I said in my tip. When you get pulled off the run, did you use your forehand? Yes. Okay. We'll roll through these. It won't be too long. So open stance on the run is key. Number two. A ball in the middle, always hit your favorite stroke. So if you get a ball down the middle of the court, never hit your second favorite stroke or your least favorite stroke. It's in the middle of the court. You can probably run around the ball. So if you're in a neutral situation and you can hit, whether your forehand or your backhand is your best stroke, you want to hit that because in a neutral situation, you can create kind of a winning kind of pattern for yourself. So if you can run around your forehand and keep driving it to the backhand, run around your forehand in the center, drive it to the backhand, you can create a situation where then you get an opportunity. So really hit your favorite stroke when the ball's in the middle. Don't follow the rules. Even if the ball is, a foot to your bad side, run around it. Do not follow the rules. Just because it's on the backhand side doesn't mean you have to hit it there. And if you like your backhand, run around your forehand, whatever you feel comfortable with. Approach inside in for the best net coverage. So when you come forward, you usually run around the ball. If you're going to run around it, you want to go up the line. So it's inside in if you're running around the ball or up the line if you just have a ball on that side. So going up the line is easier to cover the court when you come forward. If you hit a ball cross court, there's too much ground to cover because you're coming in, you're hitting it cross court, and you've got to get all the way over to that down the line side. So if you hit a ball down the line, it's easier to shadow the ball. The ball will come out of that corner. You're already in that corner. It's always a good rule. That's part of the same rule of saying when you come forward, always guard the line. So if you hit it down the line, it's easier to guard the line. You guard the line, you adjust to the cross court. That's number 3. Number 4, stay low and still on contact with the ball on the rise. The problem is we have to hit these balls on the rise. That means the ball's on the way up. And the problem is you've got to stay super low. People hit it on the rise, they get uncomfortable, and they try to lift instead of staying low. Everything's kind of the opposite. They stay low, the ball go up. You lift up, the ball probably go into the net. So stay as low as you can when you hit a ball on the rise. Keep your head still as long as you can. Even drop your back knee. You can strike the ball and drop that back knee. Number 5, take the high ball on the rise to stay neutral in the rally. Same thing. This is taking a ball early, but this is a neutral situation. Too many people back up when they see a high ball. And then there's 2 negative things that happen. They're hitting a ball above their shoulder, and they're way behind the baseline. It's a really difficult situation. Hit a ball above your shoulder from behind the baseline. You're already in a negative situation. So as much as you can, toe the baseline, hit the ball on the way up so you can stay in a neutral situation. Doubles tip here. Play through the middle of the court. Okay, so too many times we think doubles is an around game, like you're trying to hit it around the opponent. There's 4 people there. Hit through them. Hit through the opponent, that's the big key. Down the middle, they say solves the riddle. Hit through the opponent. Happens all the time. You would hit them all the time. People don't want to hit somebody, but you basically buy beers for the people you hit the most. You're just going to hit them, and that's okay, but you have to go through them. You try to go around them, it's going to be big trouble. So go through the opponent, not around them. Squared stance when you come forward, then rotate the back leg around. So usually when you come forward to a ball, you don't want to open there, because it's going to move you to the left or right of the court. You're moving in, you want to use your front foot there, but squared, not cross. So squared means one foot is behind the other, not 1 foot across. 1 foot behind the other, and then you're going to rotate your back leg around. That's the best way to hit an approach shot of a ball down the middle. Get the short ball, you lead with your front foot, you rotate your back leg around. Number 8, use the 3/4 court ground stroke for effectiveness. So the 3/4 court ground stroke is a big key. 3/4 court mean that, say here's a court, there's the net, there's the baseline. 3/4 court would be 3/4 up the court. It's a great way to get effective rally position. You hit a 3/4 court forehand or 3/4 court ground stroke, the player's got to move in, but in an awkward situation. They can't move in all the way, and they don't have enough time to get back, so they get in a weird spot. So you get that 3/4 court, cross court ground stroke. They have to move up a little bit. They have to go for it. If they try to hit a rally ball, they have to hustle real back. So try that 3/4 court ground stroke. Number 10. Lefties use the slider out wide. This may seem obvious, but we don't use it enough. So I'm a lefty. I use the out wide serve all day, and they always said, and this was a great one on the if anybody saw the Federer documentary, in the documentary they asked him all these questions. If Nadal was a righty, would you won more French Opens? Nadal's a lefty, and Federer's a righty, and it was very effective on that surface. Number 1 is lefty out wide serve. It skids out to the backhand of the righty. Now, if Federer was a lefty, he could have been neutralized, right? So it's very effective for a lefty because you're going to the backhand of the righty for an out wide serve. It's going to open up the court. Their backhand is probably usually a little weaker. You're going to be able to get an easier forehand. Now, I think probably on that note, Nadal probably wouldn't have won as many if Nadal was a righty and Federer was a lefty, or if they switched it around. I think it probably would have made a big difference because Nadal hits that high and heavy forehand to Federer's backhand, and it gets above his shoulder. It's very hard to hit. So I think so. It's an interesting point. But again, lefty, hit that slider out wide as much as you can on the ad side. Don't give up too much court in a neutral situation. Now, I just said the tip a little bit a while ago. This is tip 11. Run around your worst stroke. But the problem is, don't run around 7 feet around the ball if you're not going to do anything with it. If you're in a neutral situation, you're going to run around the ball a good 5 feet, and you just hit it back down the middle, you're screwed. The whole court's open. So in that neutral situation, be careful giving up too much court. There's no reason because you can't win the point in that position. So conversely, if you run around the ball way away 7 feet, you are going to have to go for it. So be careful giving up too much court. Number 12, never drop shot behind the baseline. I got a lot of shit for this one. George, this is what happens when you put shit on social media. There's always somebody that has got a correction. Well, what about Carlos Alcaraz? So the guy's number 1 in the world. There's 99 or number 2 or number 3 now. 99.9% of the people can't hit a drop shot from the baseline. There'll be like a college athlete's Division I great. Come on. Hit the drop shot from inside the baseline. It's the best thing to do. You're in a winning position. Hitting a drop shot from behind the baseline is very difficult. You're probably elevated too much, too hard. So there's always going to be an exception to all of these rules. But in general, don't drop shot by the baseline. Make sure you come forward. If you're inside the baseline, you got more time. The ball has less time to clear the net. And make sure that the opponent is back. So the greatest, highest percentage situation in a drop shot is when you're, say, 2 feet inside the baseline and they're 2 feet behind it. The drop shot doesn't have to be perfect then, right? It gives you a lot more margin. But we're not all Alcaraz, and I'm not either. So I apologize for that tip. When the court is open, this is number 13, don't try to be cute. I've seen this before, too. You set up a great point. It's perfect, and then you try to do something funny, right? You try to hit a drop shot or you try to hit some weird slice. If the person's off the court, just literally push it over the court. Happens too many times. We give the opponent too much credit. They're off the court. They've got real no shot at it. You end up forcing it or rushing it. Don't be too cute. Simple. Just hit right through the court. 14. Surprise is useful. Change the dynamic, even if you lose the point. So what happens is we try something different and we lose the point, and then we never try it again. Now, we can't do that. You want to try things, even if you lose them, because it makes the opponent think that this can happen again. So when the situation arises, which is a decisive situation, whether it's deuce, break point, those are decisive situations, that opponent needs to know that you could try something different. So I always tell players, hit 4 different shots for the first 4 different points. So if they're playing doubles, I say lob the first ball, slice the second one, hit a flat one at the net person the first time, then hit a drop shot the fourth time. Try 4 different things. Make sure that you are creating something that makes someone uncomfortable and that they know that it could be there again. So don't get caught in ruts. That's 14. We're almost there, Georgie. Where are we? 15. Here we go. You can play aggressive over the center of the court and with margin. So a lot of times we think we need to take a crazy amount of risk to win a point. We have to go for these crazy angles and deep into the corner and this corner. If you just hit hard down the middle, you'll probably get a short ball and you'll be able to do something easy with it. So just think aggressive down the middle of the court and high over the net. Great players do that. Aggressive down the middle, high over the net. It'll create situations for you. So that's really an overall patience tip too. Just be patient in the center of the court. It'll help. 16. This is a little, not a strategic tip, a little technical tip that you need to realize when you're learning, when you're not. So if it looks wrong and feels right, it's wrong. So if you're playing tennis and it looks wrong, if somebody takes a video of you, but it feels right when you hit it, it's still wrong. Because we get so used to hitting something a certain way that the form may be wrong, but we like the way it feels. What you really need is, if it looks right and feels wrong, it's correct. That means those changes are going on. So it looks wrong and feels right. If it looks right and feels wrong, it's correct. So basically, I said at the end of this, keep doing what feels wrong. You got to be misunderstood a little bit out there in life and on the tennis court. You've got to do what feels wrong a little bit, because if you stay in that zone of comfort all the time, you're not making changes. You've got to do what feels wrong a little bit. 17. Close only halfway for the lob, because the lob is coming back. So this is kind of a tip of what you give is what you get. So if you lob someone, even in doubles especially, if you lob them, they're going to lob it back. Problem is we lob. A lot of the club players get way too close to the net and they just get lobbed back. So if you're going to hit a nice lob, only come up halfway to the service line. That way you can react to the lob and the volley. So you hit that lob, you're going to get the lob back, so only come up halfway. Last one. If you're around the ball, if you run around the ball, you must be aggressive. That was part of the other tip that I said together as well. So if you're going to take a chance and you're going to run around the ball, you've got to be aggressive. Too many people give up the whole court and they hit this neutral ball and then they're screwed. If you're going to take a risk, you need a reward. So if you're going to run around the ball, you've got to be aggressive. So hopefully these tips help. Hopefully they change everyone's game. And again, we're talking with, we're trying to talk to help the club player out, help a player that's a 3-0 or 4-5. Obviously some of these tips on the super high level are a little different, right? On a super high level, hitting a lob and getting one back is not going to happen all the time. Somebody's going to pass the hell out of you, or somebody's going to hit the overhead, or it's going to be really hard to lob, a top-level athlete. But again, you see McEnroe say this when he commentates, nuances. Throw up the lob, change some speed. Sometimes you can just slice it. Sometimes you can take the pace off. At the highest level, sometimes we hit the ball way too hard, and we don't need to. And people start to get so comfortable with hitting it hard, all of a sudden you take the pace off, and you win a lot of points. Ash Barty was great at this. She retired young. She was a great tennis player, Australian women's tennis player. Had the old kind of Australian way, slice the backhand a lot, change speeds. It's very difficult to deal with. People like the pace. They don't like the change of speed. So keep trying new things. The answers in the actions, everybody. I hope this helps. Have a good day. Hey, everybody. Hope you like the podcast. Please share it with your friends, anybody that you know, anybody that's into tennis, anybody that's into bettering themselves. Share it.